It started with one mistake and ended with a rule that saved millions of lives. This is the untold story of how aviation's darkest moments led to its greatest safety breakthroughs. From the first fragile wings of the Wright brothers to the roaring jets that circle our planet today, every takeoff tells a story of progress. But the truth behind that progress isn't just about speed, altitude, or power. It's about sacrifice. Because in aviation, every mistake, every tragedy, has written a new rule in the sky. Scene 1, the Turning Point Tenerife disaster, 1977. March 27, 1977. Two Boeing 747s, the largest passenger planes in the world at the time, found themselves on the same fog-covered runway in Tenerife, Spain. A series of small miscommunications, misunderstood phrases, and human assumptions led to the deadliest accident in aviation history. 583 people lost their lives. That day changed aviation forever. From that single tragedy, international aviation authorities completely rewrote how pilots communicate. The phrase takeoff could no longer be used casually. Now, cleared for takeoff means exactly one thing and only one thing. And what's more, the idea of crew resource management was born a revolutionary system that taught pilots to challenge each other, to question decisions, and to work as equals in the cockpit. Because from Tenerife, we learned this. Silence can be deadly. Scene 2, Design Revolution. United Flight 232, 1989. July 19, 1989. United Flight 232 was cruising smoothly over Iowa when disaster struck. A fan disc in the tail-mounted engine exploded, sending shrapnel through the hydraulic lines that powered every control surface on the aircraft. In seconds, the crew realized something unthinkable. They had no flight controls. And yet through impossible teamwork and ingenuity, Captain Al Haynes and his crew managed to crash land the DC-10, saving 184 of the 296 on board. The investigation revealed a shocking truth. There was no backup system for total hydraulic failure. That single event changed aircraft design forever. New jets were built with redundant control systems and fail-safe hydraulics. Even the material used in engine parts was redesigned to prevent future fractures. From tragedy came a blueprint for survival. Scene 3, Fire on the Ground. British Airways Flight 28M, 1985. Sometimes it's not the crash itself, but what happens after. In 1985, a British Airways Boeing 737 caught fire during takeoff from Manchester Airport. The plane never left the ground, but 55 passengers died, trapped inside by smoke and heat. The lesson? Evacuation wasn't fast enough. Investigators found that narrow aisles, poorly marked exits, and toxic cabin materials turned a manageable emergency into a deadly one. In response, aviation regulators overhauled cabin safety standards. Every seat cushion, every carpet, every panel now has to resist fire. And airlines were required to prove through real-life tests that a plane could be evacuated in 90 seconds. That rule has saved countless lives since. Scene for the Invisible Enemy Decompression, an Aloha Airlines Flight 243, 1988. April 28, 1988. Aloha Airlines Flight 243, a short hop between Hawaiian Islands. Mid-flight, a section of the fuselage suddenly ripped away. The cabin became an open-air wind tunnel. Miraculously, the pilots brought the plane down safely, but the accident exposed the dangers of metal fatigue and aging aircraft. After Aloha 243, airlines began strict airframe inspection programs. Ultrasound scans, pressure tests, and corrosion detection became standard practice. The lesson was clear. Time wears down even the strongest wings. And from that day forward, routine maintenance took on a whole new meaning. Scene 5, Miracle in the Hudson, 2009. January 15th, 2009. Just 3 minutes after takeoff, U.S. Airways Flight 1549 struck a flock of geese. Both engines failed. Captain Chesley Sullenberger faced the unthinkable no thrust, no altitude, and millions watching from the ground below. What followed was one of aviation's most incredible moments. The miracle on the Hudson. When Sully guided the Airbus A320 onto the icy Hudson River, everyone survived. But behind that miracle came lessons. Bird strike testing was intensified. Engine certification standards were upgraded to withstand larger bird impacts, and pilot training around emergency ditching became more detailed than ever. A calm voice, quick thinking, and systems built from decades of lessons, that's what saved those lives. Scene 6, Boeing 737 MAX. Modern lessons, modern responsibility. Even today, aviation keeps learning, sometimes painfully. Between 2018 and 2019, two Boeing 737 MAX aircraft crashed Lion Air and Ethiopian Airlines. The cause? A faulty sensor and an automated system that overrode the pilot's control. Those tragedies reignited global conversations about transparency, accountability, and the relationship between pilots and technology. New rules now require clearer pilot training on automation systems and stricter software certification oversight. It's a harsh reminder that even in the age of AI and autopilot, humans still matter. From the ashes of disaster rose the safest era of flight in human history. Every switch you flip, every safety demonstration you tune out, every gentle landing you barely notice, is built on the lessons written in courage, tragedy, and progress. Aviation didn't just evolve, it learned. And because it did, over 100,000 flights will safely take off and land today. In aviation, a single word can mean the difference between life and death. And for pilots, one word, takeoff, carries a weight heavier than the aircraft itself. But there's a reason that word can only be spoken once. And that reason begins with a flight that never made it to the sky. Why pilots never say, takeoff, twice the legacy of Delta Flight 1141. Dallas-Fort Worth, August 31st, 1988. It was a hot, humid morning in Texas. Delta Flight 1141, a Boeing 727 bound for Salt Lake City, sat on the runway, ready to depart. The cockpit was casual. The crew chatted about their schedules. The flight attendants standing nearby. They were professionals but relaxed. Too relaxed. As they rolled down the runway, something was terribly wrong. The aircraft struggled to lift. The nose pitched up, then dropped violently. Within seconds, Delta 1141 slammed into ground, broke apart, and burst into flames. 14 people never made it home. The investigation begins. When investigators arrived, they found something shocking. The plane itself wasn't faulty. The engines were fine. So what went wrong? Inside the wreckage, flight data revealed a chilling truth: the flaps and slats, vital for takeoff lift, had never been extended. In simple terms, the plane tried to fly with its wings set for cruising, not for liftoff. That mistake sealed its fate. But that wasn't all. The cockpit voice recorder painted a troubling picture: a crew distracted by off-topic conversation, missing crucial checklist items. They said takeoff casually more than once without confirming the aircraft was ready. And in aviation, casual kills. The chain of errors. Every disaster in aviation is a chain, and every link matters. The first link? Complacency. The crew had flown this route many times. They'd done the checklist hundreds of times before. But familiarity can breed danger. The second link? Distraction. They talked during the checklist, a fatal break from sterile cockpit rules. And the final link? A missing warning. The takeoff warning horn, the alarm that should have alerted them about the flaps, didn't sound. A maintenance issue went unnoticed. 3 small mistakes, 1 catastrophic result. The aftermath rules rewritten. Delta 1141 wasn't just an accident. It was a turning point. The NTSB issued a sweeping recommendation that changed how pilots communicate forever. From that day on, the word takeoff became sacred. It can only be spoken once by the tower controller when granting permission, and once again by the pilot when acknowledging that clearance. No one else, no other phrase, no casual chatter. And inside the cockpit, takeoff may not be spoken at all until the exact moment clearance is given. Before that, it's simply departure. The birth of the sterile cockpit rule reinforced. Delta 1141 also reignited focus on another rule, one that seems simple but saves lives. The sterile cockpit rule. Below 10,000 feet, no casual talk, no jokes, no distractions, only essential communication. That rule had existed for years, but after Delta 1141, it became sacred law in aviation culture. It reminded pilots that focus isn't just professionalism, it's survival. Human factor is the real lesson. What made Delta 1141 especially haunting wasn't a broken engine or a software bug. It was something more human: complacency. A reminder that experience can dull awareness, and routine can kill. That's why every pilot, from student to captain, now trains under crew resource management, a discipline born from earlier disasters, but sharpened by moments like this one. It teaches crews to challenge assumptions, to verify every step, and to speak up even if it feels uncomfortable. Because aviation safety isn't built on trust alone. It's built on proof, discipline, and teamwork. Legacy of Flight 1141. Today, if you listen closely from your seat before takeoff, you'll hear precise, calm words exchanged between the pilots and the tower. You'll never hear the word takeoff twice, and you'll never hear it used casually. That discipline, that respect for one word, is written in the memory of Delta Flight 1141 and the lives that paid the price for complacency. In aviation, every rule has a reason. Every checklist, every word, every pause built on stories written in courage and pain. Delta 1141 taught the world this. Flying safely isn't about luck, it's about learning. And that's why, today, millions will take off and land safely. Because one crew's mistake became a lesson that changed aviation forever. Why pilots never say, takeoff. Twice the legacy of Delta 1141. In every word, a lesson. In every lesson, a life saved. In the sky, every lesson matters. Because each one was paid for in lives, in innovation, and in hope.